Okay, so dealing with emotional turmoil, sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. Sometimes it's like, fuck, like, how am I gonna handle this shit? And it comes out of nowhere. Like, sometimes you just wake up wrong side of the bed, and these thoughts are just flooding your mind. All these things, all these bad things are just going through your head. You don't know where it's coming from. It's confusing, and a lot of the time we look at ourselves, and the self-talk we give ourselves to try and give an answer to these thoughts and this negativity is not positive. We, depending on what it is, we start to beat ourselves up, blame others, and blame our circumstances, and, like, pity our lives, and look at other people and be like, yo, what the fuck, like, why can't I do this too, right? But when it comes to that, I think, like, at least what I do, it's like everyone's human. We get shit that's just negative, that just runs through our mind, and it starts off like that, and then it becomes an excuse why we don't go out and do something, whether it's the gym, whether it's studying, whether it's to go to work or whatnot. Like, the importance of a positive mind is crazy. Like, negative minds lead to a lot of things. Not only does it set yourself back because you're not as productive as you would when you're giving yourself positive self-talk and in a state of positive energy, you're not going to be as efficient. You're not going to be able to be as creative because you're so caught up in negativity, right? You're doubting yourself. You're worried. You're concerned, and especially if you're someone that doesn't know how to handle their emotions, you put that on other people, right? So you start to damage the relationships you have and the resources that are around you, right? A lot of people, when they're feeling negative or something wrong with their day, instead of communicating that to themselves in a positive manner of like what this is, observing what they're feeling, right? They beat themselves up, and then when it comes to communicating that with other people, they put that on them as like, they're the issue and they're the problem, instead of communicating like, yo, this is what I'm feeling, or like, you know what, this is weird, I've been having these weird thoughts, like, what do you think about this, like, why am I going through this? They walk around like they're mad, or there's shit to complain about, and they rub off on other people, and also they end up attacking other people because they're angry, and they just immediately just like put off this weird energy. Like, you felt that before. It's like people are just around you, whether they just, something weird happened, they're just all down and slummy. It's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't do anything for yourself, nor does it do anything for anybody. If you're down and upset, you just gotta talk about it. You know what I'm saying? You simply just gotta go up and be like, yo, man, like, I don't know, like, someone asks how your day was, you can say good, but explain like what happened. Like, yeah, my day was good, but shit's crazy. Like, what I'm saying? I'm going through this, I'm going through that. Like, what do you think? Have you been here? Like, I don't know, but this is what I'm gonna do about it. Even though you're not sure about what you're gonna do with your negative emotions, you gotta persist with positive thoughts of an action that you think is gonna, help you overcome it, right? Because what all it is that when you're confused and feeling these negative emotions, it's just because you haven't got an answer of why you're feeling those things. So instead of taking time to persist and not waver your faith, you react. So you give yourself an answer, but the answer is based off emotions, which aren't reliable and aren't valid to the reality of your life. So you gotta just be able to persist positivity. Self-talk is the conversation. You're feeling your emotions, and you look at your reality like, okay, does this map out? Is this really that bad? Is this situation really worth me kind of stopping my life for it, or should I continue it and look at it deeper and be like, okay, why is this and why is that? And remember, when you're doing things, you think more constructively instead of just sitting down there in your emotions or walking around like your life's the worst, right? You think more you think more critically and more productive when you're actually making actions, positive actions, right? So always remember, like, try and be active, always try and move, even though when you're feeling the worst, even though when all these things are happening, your life around you, you could have took losses, you could have lost your job, you could have, lost some friends, you could have, just got out of a relationship, whatever it may be. Like, you could have, everyone goes through hard times, but it's like, you got to just try and, through those hard times, really understand why they happen, so you give yourself an answer that you can now start applying your life based off of, whether it was a lesson, whether it was a blessing, whatever it may be. You use that answer to fuel yourself going forward, right? So try and always move in a positive energy. Even when you don't have energy, you don't gotta go around smiling and being all extra, but just move with a positive energy where it's like you can be straight faced, but when someone comes around you, it's just like, hey man, have a good day, or hold the door for somebody even when you don't feel like it, or just if someone tells you something that they just did that's so great, don't tell them how bad your day was, or like, oh, I wish I was you. Like, give them the energy. It's like, yo, that's amazing, man. That motivates me. Thanks for telling me that, bro. Fuck it, you're an awesome dude. I'm gonna keep going. Like, thrive off their energy. Don't be envious because you're down and they're up. Understand that it's a blessing. They're up for a reason, to bring you up with them. But you gotta allow that. Like, what I'm saying? Don't just try and bring people down because you're down. No matter what happens. Even if it's someone's fault, that, what I'm saying? Like, you gotta just, the importance of, being that bigger man or just being positive around people is that you're doing so much better for yourself, right? Like, someone does you wrong, you don't always gotta snap. You don't always gotta react. You don't always gotta be that person. You can just be positive. Yeah, you have your standards and your lines, but 9 times out of 10, the better thing to do is just like, you know what, I see how it is, boom, just don't react negatively, don't put shit on them, don't walk around a certain vibe where it's like, fuck that person, be positive, I got you, bro, my bad, this and that, and just go on with your day. You know what I'm saying? You win that way, right? And that just comes from the internal battles that we face. If we can do that positively, when it comes out to these physical realities, we can do the same, right? So try and stay positive, and what I'm saying, when it comes to that emotional turmoil, yeah, those negative thoughts get tough, man, but just really just meditate on those thoughts. Don't try and suppress them. Really just observe and analyze why they are, because a lot of times they're signs, and they're things that are giving you signs of caution, not to be worried and concerned and have lack of faith, but to prepare yourself. So don't be afraid of them, understand them, and like, okay, this is what it is. Even if this happens, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna prosper. I'm gonna plan the fortune. That's how you gotta think. Understand and see yourself winning in every variable of life, no matter what happens. And then this leads to more positive action. You know what I'm saying? The shit you don't feel like doing, 9 times out of 10, especially when it's your purpose, go out and do them. All right? Hope everyone has a great night. Keep doing what you're doing and win again. All right? And one last thing I forgot to mention is that when you're on the other side of that shit, where you're positive and you're having a good day, and then someone else who's negative and they're in their feelings and they're not communicating to you in a productive manner, where it's like, again, they're walking around all soppy and crazy and like it's the end of the world, and that energy is rubbing off on you, and they're communicating it to you in a way where it's like it's your fault, or they're just putting that shit on you. Like, people do that. They're like, they're angry, they're giving you bad vibes, and they're saying unreliable shit to you because they're speaking from feelings. Don't tolerate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be like, oh, like, I'm sorry that happened, or like, this is so, like, like, don't tolerate it, because you feed into that. That means you're telling them that it's okay to be a jabroni and just cry when shit happens and put that on other people to blame, instead of coming up to you and explaining to you, like, fuck man, this is what happened, and taking responsibility for it. And then you guys can both actually talk about what happened and help each other out, because you're speaking information and giving them advice, but you're also teaching to yourself. A lot of times when we speak, we're really just speaking to ourselves, because that's what we've said to ourselves, and that's what we've gone through, and we're speaking it again. And since it's being said, we're actually rehearing it and learning, right? So that's the most productive way to deal with that shit. Like, if someone comes up to you and they're just mad and they're just being weird to you and shit, just do your own thing. Act like they're not there, like a kid. Like, when a kid's trying to get a reaction out of you, they're gonna, like, don't give them a reaction, because they're gonna get the reaction they want. They're gonna think that works every single time. So when people are being childish and emotional and crying at you, or like, just not being productive with the way they talk, and not actually coming for help, but just coming to rant and to say some shit that doesn't help themselves or you at all, don't tolerate it, because you're doing yourself a disservice, and that other person. So tolerate real shit. Don't tolerate none of that jabroni nonsense, and just, you know what I mean, help those who are willing to help themselves, because you can't help them otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So keep doing your thing again, and that's it, bro. Yeah, something I realized by myself looking back was when I was a lot younger. Like, I'm still young now, but when I was a lot younger, I used to think everything that happened to me was always bad. Like, nothing would ever go my way. I would never get what I wanted, and like, that's how I used to think. But the reason I believe that was because now that I look back to the way I used to think was, anytime something good would happen, like let's say a success, or you know, like, I would just be like, oh, this is too good to be true, and like, I would start preparing myself for the bad shit. Like, that's the only outcome that can happen. Like, I saw success as something that was like, just okay, it's just a warning that something bad's gonna happen. Like, it's too good to be true. Like, it would happen, but it's like, it's only to make things worse, because I was so used to bad shit happening. I was just like, there's no way it can be good. There's no way I could actually sustain success and like not go back to bad patterns and turmoil and all of that shit. So I would sabotage myself, so I would prepare myself for it. You know what I'm saying? So I would get something happen, whether it's like whatever, maybe any little kind of thing, you know, an extra piece of chicken my mom used to make, whatever it be, like any kind of like small little detail that used to be like a win to me. I would sabotage myself, so it's like I get prepared for the bad shit that I put out thinking was gonna happen. So I got used to it. So I was almost trying to cheat it. Like, it was like, I'm ready for it, so it doesn't hit me as hard. I wouldn't get my hopes up because I hated being disappointed, right? But as a kid, I learned. I mean, as a kid, that's how I thought. That's how I kind of operated until I learned. You know what I mean? It's having disappointments come from having expectations that, you know, aren't necessarily really like open-minded. You know what I'm saying? Our expectations aren't necessarily always as open-minded. So it's like, whether you go and get something, whether you go to the store and you think you're gonna get something because you saw it there, you don't get disappointed if it's not there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because you expected that, you're like, oh shit, like, fuck, it's not there. You're all disappointed. Your expectation was very close-minded, that was the only way your day could pan out, that you're gonna go to the store and you're gonna find exactly what you wanted. But realistically, there's many things that can happen. So when your expectations are so open and broad, it's like almost not having any expectations, so you can't get disappointed. The only thing you expect is that you'll understand that everything happens for a reason, and then you move to a positive light that way, so you don't get disappointed. And even if something doesn't pan out your way, it's like, oh, it's okay. I was happy before this happened, and I'll be happy without it. And if it's something I want that bad, I'll keep trying to get it. And if it doesn't come now, it'll come later, and you just keep moving on that and moving on that, and so you don't get so disappointed. So it's like, fast forward to now, I've just kind of been in a place where it's like, that's something I've had to work on, where it's like, when you go through ups and downs in life, it seems like to maintain a success, it's like you gotta really be, for one, definitely don't get comfortable, but you gotta be uncomfortable in the sense where you keep working harder and you keep pushing the gas pedal to going, you know, doing more, thinking, you know, brighter, you know, studying more, and just doing everything you can to sharpen yourself up, so that whatever bumps and bruises you take up that mountain that you're already climbing up, it doesn't knock you down, right? That's what usually happens. Like, you know, like you'll go up, but you get comfortable, you think that's it, and then it's like you get knocked down by a blow you weren't prepared for, because you didn't develop enough muscle, mentally, spiritually, and physically. You get knocked down and you're back down, and you build yourself back up because you were uncomfortable, and you have to do that to get back up, and it's a constant cycle up and down. You know what I'm saying? So sustaining that success, what it feels like, is like the best way to do that, regardless of ups and downs. I feel like you can sustain a success of a mind state where you know shit's always gonna come back up, even with a loss. So that loss doesn't break you down to where you're fully depleted, but through proper preparation while in a state of being up for success, when something does bump you, you still keep your composure based off your preparation because you were ready for it. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's like financially, instead of being in a state of success financially and blowing all your money and having nothing, you know, left if shit hits the fan, or you have to help your moms out, or any kind of emergency, you're good when that shit does happen. You do that, and it's like, you know what? You lost incomes, you lost this, you lost that. Shit's just going bad. You're still able to sustain yourself because you prepared for it, you know, in an intelligent way by putting stuff aside for a rainy day, right? Simple little method. Same thing when it comes to just, you know, whatever you're doing, if your purpose is that you work at it so diligently that your craft becomes, you know, spectacular and individualized to who you are, that it stands out, so that, you know, as you're going through the process at the beginning, you may not be seen as successes, but, you know, when it does pop, you're there, you know, right? But the success was the journey. The success was you building it up and finding out what makes you different and finding out what makes your craft, and that's what's special, right? So always just trying to, you know, when you're up, don't get concerned or worried. Just get ready, right? Concerned and worried is a negative way of being ready. Be ready, be positive. Like, if shit did hit the fan and everything fell off, so what? Like, you've been ready. Like, that's just another step you got to take. You don't waver. Like, you know what I'm saying? Shit is a fan, boom, okay. Doesn't mean you got to stop doing your purpose. Doesn't mean you got to stop, you know, moving at what you're doing. You just keep going, and you keep a steady mind and a steady focus, and your faith does not waver. You stay faithful, right? And then you come up bigger than you ever have before. So that's what I believe kind of gets you in a state of maintenance when you're aiming to operate at the highest level every single day. All right.